let's talk about dressing the plastic and rubber on your vehicle. So that's going to be the tires, the fenders, the engine bay, and the plastic and rubbers in there, and then maybe some plastic trim across your vehicle. So I'm going to talk about the product I use and how I can apply that dressing onto the surfaces. So for starters, my choice of dressing is Meguiar's Hyper Dressing. I actually have a new gallon size right here, Meguiar's Hyper Dressing. I recommend it to those that either have multiple personal vehicles or they're doing this as a business because it's dilutable and it only comes in gallon sizes, at least to my knowledge. So if you have one vehicle, that's probably not a good option just because it's kind of overkill in my opinion. So you can get something smaller at that point. But if you're doing this as a business, or you have like a lot of personal vehicles that you want to keep, dressed, then it's a great option. Anyhow, I also just use this specific spray nozzle for this product because I never have to adjust it like this one. I never have to actually adjust the setting in terms of how it's spraying. So I always keep it on the spray because I'm 90% of the time I'm spraying this into an applicator media, whether it's a towel or a pad or a brush. I hardly ever actually spray it on the surface unless it's the engine bay or the fenders, because if you're gonna spray this onto the tires, you're most likely gonna get overspray and then you have to wipe down the paint again, and that's just an extra step. Now you can, like, let's say it's big trucks, like just meaty tires that have like very thick sidewalls with all those grooves and stuff, then I don't spray it onto the entire tire. I just spray it where I need to get my brush and work it in. So maybe I'll spray it into the brush. Maybe I'll spray it into the brush and then work the grooves of the tire, or lightly spray it onto the tire grooves and then work it in with the brush. But other than that, I don't really spray the tires because of that overspray that's gonna take place. Not a big deal to clean it up. It's water-based, so it's not like it's gonna damage anything, but it is that extra step that you can avoid. Now, the times I do spray it is on the fenders sometimes, and most of the time on the engine bay. And don't hate on me or anything because they're dirty right now, but just for demonstration purposes, just because I wanted to talk about this topic, is once obviously the fenders have to be cleaned, and you still might get overspray if you do it this way, because if the wind's picking up, depending on the size of the vehicle, if you spray into the fenders, you still might get some overspray. But what I do, again, once they're clean, I'll literally just come in and spray all along. Can you see this? I spray all along the fenders and literally just let it sit there and dry. I'll maybe do that for all fenders, and then if they need to get touched up again, I'll come back and just wipe it down with a towel to get rid of any of those high spots. But other than that, assuming this was clean, I will literally just spray it and walk away and let it just soak into the material. And it works great. I do this plenty of times with fenders. With tires, I won't do that just because, like I said, you can get close to it. Like here in the garage, there's no wind, so it's a lot more controllable in terms of how you're spraying it. But even then, you're gonna get it on the rim, ugly old silly here, and you're still gonna get overspray. So here, I always apply the dressing onto my Adams applicator pad, and then apply it. Now, when it comes to the engine bay, you can still use that same format, which is what I do, is that I completely saturate, or not saturate, but I'll just spray the entire engine bay with the hyper dressing or whatever dressing you're using, and then I'll come back with a towel and multiple or brushes to get into the detailed areas that need to be, wedged in with the brush, so the dressing covers all areas. Now, if you have an aerosol can, then that does help out a tremendous amount because you can, target exactly what you want to dress by just holding, the distance between what you want to dress between the can and the surface. And it does a great job. There's not much touch-up that you have to do because you can basically get where you need to get. You might need to touch up some high spots here and there with a towel, but for the most part, it's pretty quick with an aerosol can. The only downside is you will have to buy them in bulk if you're doing this as a business because you will run out of them quickly. And once you run out, like if you're not out on the job site and you run out and you don't have an extra can, you're kind of out of luck there, which is always great to have, like something, either have multiple cans or have a backup of some sort to be able to get the job done. But those are the two things I would recommend. It's either an aerosol can or a liquid form like this. I specifically recommend a liquid, not a gel version, because that makes it even tougher to get the dressing into all those nooks and crannies, because then you like really have to wedge it in there with a brush and your towel, and that's gonna take a lot more time. With this one, you can completely saturate the area, wipe it down, use a brush here and there, and then you're good to go. I don't try to get overly specific, because if I cover the surface pretty good, then the runoff of the dressing will get into those small nooks and crannies. It'll dry and everything will be dressed. With a gel, you really have to, intentionally put that dressing in every nook and cranny. With an aerosol can, it's much easier, but it does run out fast, and you should buy it in bulk if you're doing this as a business or you just like using the aerosol cans. And that's just another reason why I like Meguiar's hyper dressing, because I think it's like 35-40 bucks for a gallon, but I can get so many bottles of a diluted 4-to-1 in here, so I'm not worried about like oversaturating it or making sure I use too much, because I got plenty of this. It lasts me a long time and it does a great job. So summing up the notes here is that I recommend Meguiar's hyper dressing in a spray nozzle. And when it comes to fenders and specifically engine bays is where I always spray onto the entire surface. Sometimes I do it with the fenders if I'm one, need to move faster, or two, if it's like super easy to do so. Oftentimes I'll just spray it into a towel and then dress the fenders as well. You always want to, most of the time you want to spray the dressing into an applicator pad and then apply it to the tires. And that way you don't get overspray. But if you do get overspray, no biggie. It's super simple to wipe down, so it's not the end of the world. And once your dressing dries, assuming it's water-based, then it's going to be dry to the touch. So if it's on the tires, it's not going to sling. If it's on the engine bay or the fenders, it's not going to feel greasy. You can use that. You should be able to use your dressing, because it should be for tire and rubber, across your interior as well. So the door panels and plastics and interior surfaces. So that's why also I recommend that, because I just like using the least amount of products and tools for the most applications possible. So with Meguiar's hyper dressing, just like an all-purpose cleaner, I can use it for just about, well, a lot of surfaces. So like for Meguiar's hyper dressing, the interior surfaces, door panels, dashboard, tires, fenders, engine bay, exterior trim, a lot of use cases. If I just have another aerosol can, I have two things that do the same job, taking up space. Not that that's a bad thing, but just, look at your situation and see what kind of fits best with what you have going on. But on that same note, I don't want to have a dashboard cleaner. I don't want to have a leather cleaner. I don't want to have an engine cleaner. I don't want to have a tire cleaner, because that just redundancy and it's just overkill, because they all get the same. They can all do the same job with like 1 or 2 products instead of having 3 or 5 products. So hopefully this video helped. Just wanted to make a quick video on this one. Leave your comments or feedback or advice in the comment section down below about dressing tires or plastic or rubber or vinyl, whatever the case may be. I will see you on the next one.